If you're not using flashcards, if you're doing some other form of studying, or if your study plan is different, this video, you don't have to watch this video if you're not using ANKIDROID or if you're not using flashcards. So with flashcards, I wanted to go over a couple different things. First, well, what they are, just for the beginners who are still new to the program, what flashcards are, what an SRS is, what spaced studying is for, what we use it for. And then I want to go over why, and so this is the big one that most members have been missing, why we have to use ANKIDROID and why we use flashcards. And that will lead us into how to use flashcards. And I know I've done videos before on how to use the flashcards, but I think what has been missing from the program is the why. And at first, I thought the why wasn't as important because for me personally, when I was studying, I was like, I don't care so much about the why. I just know that I have to do it, just get the action done. And if the action gets done, then I'll get results. And it's still true for you as well. If you do the action, if you do those flashcards, if you study, you will see results with ANKIDROID. But I've noticed that not as many people have that same kind of blind faith as much as I do when it comes to study methods. I believe in trying something until I see that it doesn't work, or trying something, or just choosing something, and then I've decided to go with that until I've seen it work for me. And so that's how I am personally studying, but I've noticed that other people, they need that why. So that's the main reason for this video today. And again, this video is probably going to be unedited when I upload it onto YouTube. It's not to worry anybody. It's not to make anybody feel like to pity me. I'm too busy for a lot of these things, and long form content. Editing this long form content takes a ton of time that I personally don't have. I might hire editors in the future. Personally, really, I don't have money right now either for that. All your money is going to those coaches. So hopefully you're enjoying them, and hopefully you're getting the most you can out of the program. But with this video, this is why it's unedited as well. So first, with the what with ANKIDROID. What is ANKIDROID? What is an SRS? So an SRS, like ANKIDROID, like Quizlet, if you're using WaniKani or BoomPro, these are all the same application packaged basically in different wrappings. So they're all the same though. The code is all the same. The core of each app is the same. Duolingo also uses this same exact thing as Memrise. They're all the same idea wrapped differently. And you'll have some users, I see users being like, oh, or I see learners being like, oh, I like BoomPro, but I don't like WaniKani, or I like WaniKani, but I don't like ANKIDROID. And then, and at the core, they're all the same. But because they're packaged differently, different people like them, and that's all it is. But they're all the same thing. So they're all an SRS, which is a spaced repetition system. It's meant to help you to study flashcards or study information over time. And this is the base. And normally they have like a little bit of time where you can study them in between. So with Quizlet, I know they don't have this on Quizlet, which is kind of bad. But they do have rote repetition, which is where you study something over and over and over and over again, and then you never study it again because you think you have it, when really you might have it for a day or a week, but it's not going to stick with you over the long term. And with language, we want to keep the words and the sentences with us and in our minds over the long term, which is why we like spaced study systems. So ANKIDROID is the example I'm going to use today. And I'm going to use this example just because it's the one I'm the most familiar with. It applies to other flashcards as well. If you have some sort of application that you can make flashcards in, this still applies to you. So don't worry if there's not much difference with ANKIDROID. If you haven't tried out ANKIDROID before, you can look at it and you can kind of see that it's kind of the same interface. It might be a little bit of a higher learning curve for some people, but it is still the app that I personally prefer. So with ANKIDROID, you have basically cards that you can make, or you can download, of course, from the internet, whatever. You can make the cards and you put it in, and it'll say like, okay, do you want to study this card again in 1 day, in 1 minute, in 1 day, in 1 week, or 1 month. And then you can choose like on a scale of like it was really hard or it was really easy, and that will kind of push the card. And so you study it. Let's say I chose 1 month, so then I would study it again in 1 month's time. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. What I see people kind of get confused on with ANKIDROID is the interface, and I know that it's a little bit hard to kind of explain, which is why I have another video on it, on like how to use ANKIDROID, all that stuff. But that is that's what spaced repetition is. There is tons and tons of research that shows that spacing out your studies is way better than just studying it all at once, which is what most people do. And I know if you're still studying it like all at once, try space studying, give it a shot, at least for like maybe 2 weeks, see if it's working for you. I would say try 1 month. If you can do 1 month of spaced studying, maybe you'll see the actual effects of like why it's so much more effective than just studying everything all at once. That is the what for space studying. That's why it's good. We want it to space because your mind, again, it needs those repetitions over time. That's the only way to learn, repetitions over time. So ANKIDROID, that is why I like it. That's what it is. That's why we use it. That's not why we use it, but that is what it is on this program. Okay, I'm just gonna take a sip of my coffee real quick. Okay. All right. Okay, so the why. So with the why, this is the bigger issue that I see a lot of people misunderstanding. There are learners and there are programs that you have ANKIDROID, and you basically what you're doing is you're trying to remember the words on the cards, and you're trying to remember the sentences on the cards. And I know that people try to like actually remember the sentences. Like if I say short sentences on an ANKIDROID card, I know people try to memorize the sentence and try and memorize it as like a set sentence. And I know people will also put in words like single words on ANKIDROID and try memorizing those. And both of these ways can work. They can work. They're not going to get you fast. They're not going to get you to your goal with Japanese fast, but they can work. So I wanted to make that clear. I know very good Japanese speakers there who have learned Japanese that way. They've also taken a very long time to learn Japanese, even using ANKIDROID from the beginning. So I don't recommend doing that. One of these learners, I don't know, shoot, I'm forgetting his name. Oh man, he's German, he's on Instagram. When I get around to editing this video, I will put him down here in this corner of the video, just so that everybody can see his account. He's amazing at Japanese. He also used ANKIDROID. He used a lot of the same methods I use, but he also studies a little bit different than I do, and he does the one word, or not one word, but he does do the sentences, and he tries to remember the sentences as a set phrase. So you can do that. It does work. But I wanted to say that for this program, for the methods that I use, I'm just going to speak out of my own experience as well as what I've seen work for a lot of people for learning Japanese faster, is not really remembering the words and the sentences exactly on the cards. You can do this, and again, it's okay, but it's not as fast. And so if you don't necessarily remember the words on the sentences on the cards, it is a lot, I want to say, more effective, more efficient, and you don't have to worry about getting cards wrong as much. And so with Japanese or with any skill, you need to fail. You need to fail lots and lots of times. And this can be demotivating for a lot of learners, especially with ANKIDROID, if they're like, oh, I suck every day, unless you're an I forgot the word for it, so I'm not going to say it, but I think that most people are afraid of that failure. And so you have to get comfortable with failing with ANKIDROID. And that's one of the reasons why we use it. So one of the reasons is to help you get comfortable with failure, to make sure that you're continuing to go on. But the only thing that will, I want to say, re-motivate you from the demotivation of failure is you have to look at each sentence as not something that you have to learn, but as something that you have to see. You don't have to learn it, you have to see it. And so there was research that was done, and it's where there's research that was done that showed that if you try and remember 10 things at a time, you'll normally forget, I want to say, you'll look like the maximum amount of topics or information that a person can learn at one time is 10 things. It's around 10 things at one single time. And then normally what happens is you can remember 10 things, but normally it's going to be you remember 6 of those 10 things, and then you forget maybe 4 of them. And other times you remember all 10 of them, and then other times you remember only 5 of them, and then other times you only remember 1 out of maybe the 10 items that were given to you and that you try to remember. And so a normal person has this variation every time they try and remember cards. So every time you go and you sit down with those ANKIDROID cards, or you sit down with that study material, you're forgetting, or I want to say you have variation in exactly how many things you're remembering. And so you might be like, oh, I studied 200 cards today. Did you remember 200 things? Probably not. You probably didn't remember 200 things. You probably remembered, I would say, like 10%, or maybe if on a good day you remembered 100%. But most days you will have remembered maybe 10 to 20%, or be able to actually use 10 to 20% of the things that you studied from ANKIDROID. And so the why comes from this ratio, this variation in learning, and this is why we use ANKIDROID. ANKIDROID is not meant for you to study. ANKIDROID is meant for you to build a pile of words and phrases in your mind. And so let's say that as this pile gets bigger, there is more information that's in your brain, and so you see more information. So there's a big pile. Let's say you have a huge pile, and out of that huge pile, you can only use the very, very center. You can also see this as a circle. You can say that you have a tiny little circle here, and this is how much you know, or this is how much you can actually use. And then you have this ginormous circle going around it, and this is the amount that you know. And so what we want to do, the way that I personally see ANKIDROID used effectively and for efficiency, is I prefer, rather than to try growing that small circle, which would be remembering those cards exactly as they are, remembering those words exactly as they are on the cards, and just like trying to study those, rather than trying to increase the amount of cards I can get right in that small little circle, I'd rather increase the outer circle. Because the funny thing is, if you increase the bigger circle, the bigger pile, if you keep increasing the bigger pile, the center, it also gets bigger. And so the smaller circle will get bigger as the bigger circle gets bigger, as it grows, the smaller circle will grow proportionally. So the smaller circle will get bigger just as much as the bigger circle if you increase the bigger circle. And so this makes it a lot easier for tools like ANKIDROID to be used. And this is why I like ANKIDROID, and this is why I prefer to use it, just because we can increase the bigger quite a lot rather than just trying to focus on this small little section right here and trying to grow it from there. This might be a little bit hard to confuse. So just as a quick summary, I want to make sure that you all are aware that ANKIDROID is not for you to learn Japanese. It's a tool to help you. I mean, I can't say not for you to learn Japanese. It's a tool for you to increase the bigger circle, to increase that bigger circle of knowledge so that you can increase the smaller circle of stuff you can actually use. Because if you have 10 ways to say something and you're put on the spot, like you have to talk to somebody all of a sudden in Japanese, and you forget, if you forget 9 of those things, and again, you will 100% remember at least 1 of the 10 things. If you forget 9 of those things, you'll at least have 1 way to say a phrase in Japanese. So if you have 10 different phrases, you'll have at least 1 phrase that you'll always be able to use, even if it's not going to be the same one every time. It'll vary, of course. It's whatever's going to be the easiest for you to pull out of your memory and actually use, to actually speak. And so this is why we use ANKIDROID. So ANKIDROID is just a game. It's a tool. It's meant for you to really, I'll get into this a little bit more in a second, but it's not meant for you to just like remember cards. It's not just for you to remember note cards. If I wanted you to do that, I would make an ANKIDROID deck for all of you and just have you be using that all the time. That's not the point of ANKIDROID. If you have ANKIDROID on your study plan, that is not why it is there. It's not there for you to just study cards. It's meant for you to increase that bigger circle. And so I'll get more into like how do we increase that bigger circle in this next part right here, but that is why we use ANKIDROID. That is why I have ANKIDROID on some of your study plans. If you're learning Japanese with ANKIDROID or Quizlet or some other flashcard app, that's okay. Do whatever you want with that. But personally, when I put spaced studying flashcards on your study plan, I don't mean for you to actually study the flashcards as just like notes or to study them as you would a textbook. I'm putting it there so that you are seeing more information, getting more reviews in of information that you already know, but also getting more information for that bigger circle. Okay. If that made any sense, it might not have made any sense. And I know that I might have to explain or go back to this video or redo this video just because it does get a little bit complicated when it comes down to why. The why is, in one sentence, the why is we want you to have more options for what you can use for Japanese. If you have more options for what you can use, then you will be more fluent in Japanese. You'll be able to speak spontaneously. You'll be able to speak naturally. You'll be able to use more words in Japanese. You'll definitely surprise more Japanese natives, and you'll probably have a better overall understanding of Japanese, and you probably won't have to study either for a lot of the JLPTs if you're able to do this. And so that's why. That is the why. Now onto the how. So I know I made videos on the how, and I know I made like, okay, this is how you make a flashcard in ANKIDROID. This is how we study. Here's how you time box. Here's how you make it so that you're not spending 2 hours studying ANKIDROID cards. If you haven't watched those videos yet, make sure to watch them. Otherwise, you can ask me for a direct link to those videos, and I will be more than happy to send those to you. But I just wanted to make some things clear with how we are to get these, how we are to increase the bigger circle, to make the bigger circle go up, to increase that pile, to make sure that pile is getting bigger so that the amount of Japanese you can actually use also gets bigger. I will, right after I take a sip of my coffee. And I would say that I have notes today, but I'm looking at an untitled document with no notes written. I didn't have time to write the notes for this video, so it is going to be unorganized. I will come back to this video, I will edit it, but this, just for right now, for the members on this program, I wanted you to have this just so that you had some guide, some idea of what you were supposed to do with those flashcards, because I know it's on a lot of people's studies plans, and I know I haven't explained myself fully with that. Okay, all right. Okay, how? With ANKIDROID, we want to have short sentences from context. And there's a couple of reasons why we do this. If you are just wanting results, just take my word for it. Do short sentences, don't do longer sentences. Do short sentences that are easy for you. Maybe have 1 to 2 words that you don't know. Get those from context. Get those from what you watch. Get those from what you read or listen to or the games you play. This is where you should be pulling sentences from so that you can put them onto ANKIDROID flashcards, and then of course you can define them on the back with the Japanese words and all that. Now, if you actually want to know more of like how to make, or like why we make ANKIDROID cards as opposed to just doing it simply. So with making your cards, it's a little bit hazy with the research, but there is research that does show that you need context for learning. And so everything is context. Language is context. If you don't know the context, it's really hard to actually learn a language. If you're learning Japanese to a high level, you definitely need context. And there's lots of different ways you can get context. One of the ways that I like learning, let's say hiragana and katakana, is with context. So you learn it with the word, and the word around it is context. And I'm going to stop this video right here, and then I'm going to come back. Context. Okay, so with hiragana, with katakana, don't learn the letters one by one. Learn them in words. Easy enough, because the words there's more context around it. There's more information around it that you can have. It's even better if you learn it in a sentence. So with a sentence, of course, you have even more context, even better. I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of this. If you're learning hiragana, katakana, please learn it in words. If you're learning words, you should be learning them in short sentences, which is all you need for the quick study. And then the best, of course, is going to be even more context. And so how do you get more context on a flashcard without increasing the amount of time that you have to spend actually studying? And you can make like only 1 to 2 cards that are like super jam-packed, super full of information, and you can spend like 3 or 4 hours studying those cards if you really want to. I don't know anybody who does, but if you really want to, you can do that. But I do want to make sure that you're aware that there is one way that I personally know of for adding more context, and that is making the flashcards yourself. And it's a hard truth that a lot of learners don't like, but making your own study materials and making your own flashcards is always going to win over taking them from maybe AnkiWeb, or taking them from maybe Wanikani, or taking or just just getting some cards, or spending some money and getting some cards from somebody. If you ask me, I'll make kind of ANKIDROID cards for you, but every time I am making those ANKIDROID cards for members, or for somebody who wants ANKIDROID cards, or like, oh, make me ANKIDROID cards for sentences or something. I get this feeling in my stomach, and I'm just like, it feels like I'm lying to you. It feels like I'm lying to you when I'm giving you these ANKIDROID cards, because I know that it's not what's actually going to help you. What's actually going to help you is personalization. So how do you make something personalized? personalization is just having some connection with it. It's a lot easier for me. This is just an example I like to use. It's a lot easier for me to remember my mother's name, for example, rather than remember the name of my friend's mother. And so, and the reason for that is because there's more of a personal connection between me and my mom than me and my friend's mom, or me and a stranger. There's a closer personal connection, which is why it's easier for me to remember important information about that person. And so you might be able to kind of see this and apply this to flashcards and to studying. A lot of people, they like to kind of customize their notes, right? They like to have their little notebook and they color in it. They make little drawings in their notebook. Oh, it's my notebook. It's what I've made. It's personal to me. And so it works. It works because they have personalization for their material, for their info. And so it is helping them to give them more context to remember, like, oh, I remember when I drew that little butterfly in the corner of my page, because I was in this class at this time and we were learning this subject, and in this subject we talked about these things and we learned about these things. So I wanted to tell you that context is important, and personalization, making your own cards, is extremely important. I would say if you have ANKIDROID cards on your study plan, or if you have flashcards on your study plan, personally, in my own experience, and from what I've seen from other members who have learned in the past, who have successfully done this program, I want to say that it is better if you don't do any flashcards at all than if you do flashcards without that personalized context for you. Just because you're wasting your time. I'll say it outright. You're wasting your time if you're studying flashcards without that personalization, without that context, because you're not going to be able to remember most of the cards that you study. You're not going to be able to remember most of the information that you're getting. And it's not great for language learning. Again, other people might have different opinions about that, but that's other people. Again, this is what I'm going to be talking about. With personalization, this brings me to another topic of where should you be finding these sentences from? And again, people will ask me for recommendations, and that's totally natural. That's totally normal. I think it's good. That's why you're here. I think that's why you have taken coaching, because you need some guidance on like what to do and like where to go, and I'm here to give you that. But the thing I don't have a problem with that. I do have a little bit of a problem when people ask me for like, okay, is this my level, or is this specific to what is it? Shoot, I'm trying to remember. Oh, they're like, oh, is this my level for Japanese? Or, oh, I heard that anime isn't very good for you, but I really like anime, but I know I shouldn't be doing it. I really like manga. I know I shouldn't be doing it because it's not good for your Japanese. But in that case, I don't really know where to do. So where should I look for resources and materials? And I'm like, do the anime, do the manga. You're Japanese at the level that you're at. You, as a beginner, if you're below me, N1, my Japanese isn't perfect. I'll just say that right now. My Japanese isn't perfect. It's not great. But if you are below me in Japanese, you shouldn't be worrying about whether or not the material you're using is perfect for Japanese or great for Japanese. If it's fun for you, if it's interesting for you, that is what you should be worried about. Because if it's not fun and if it's not interesting and it's not something that you want to do, then the personalization isn't there. You're not going to remember the material as well, and you're probably not going to have as much fun or keep your motivation for a long enough time to actually see results. And so this is another thing with personalization. Please don't just look for things that you think will help you. Look for things that you think you will have a fun time doing. The journey is as important as the results in this case with Japanese, just because that is everything. It's everything. Context is everything for Japanese. Context is everything for learning a language. And if you're not having fun with it, and I know that like some people have to learn for work, some people have to learn, some people aren't as serious as maybe I am with Japanese, but that if you want to learn Japanese to a pretty good level, I'm not saying you have to learn it to fluency. I'm not saying you have to learn it to N1. If you want to learn Japanese to a pretty good level, you want to have fun with it. So go and look for stuff to read, stuff to watch, stuff to listen to in Japanese that you enjoy personally. And so then you might be wondering like, okay, Gus, I'm going to you for coaching, I'm going to you for training. Why don't you tell me where to go? And I want to tell you that even if I told you where to go, you wouldn't be able to do the actions I'm telling you to do because one, you're not me. Two, you probably will get tired of the things I tell you to do because again, you're not me, and you probably get bored with the things that I recommend to you. Then also the coaching meetings and the trainings, they're not really for you to just get recommendations and training. The study plan is a self-study plan, so it's meant for you. It's not my self-study plan, it's your self-study plan. So this is why I'm trying to get you to kind of see like, okay, Japanese is a more of an open structure. It's not math where you only have a couple different ways you can learn math. It's not science where you have like, okay, I have to put in this formula to get this result. It's not like that. You have to have, well, it is, you do have to have a certain formula to get the results, and the formula is you. First of all, it's that personalization, it's that context, and you need that for the result. And so ANKIDROID, I know this may have seemed like it got off topic, but that context, you're pulling from the context, you're putting it into ANKIDROID. And so with ANKIDROID, you might be like, okay, what is ANKIDROID for really then? And it's to make that bigger circle bigger, but it's also to make it like a game. And so if it's like a game, it's a little bit more fun. And so this is why I was successful with ANKIDROID. It's why other people might have been successful with ANKIDROID, is because they learned to use it not as a all-in-one tool, but as a way to take notes and a way to make those notes fun for you. And so the way that you make those notes fun for you is one, they're personalized, and then two, it's like a game. You're kind of hunting. You're hunting for these sentences in the stuff that you already enjoy. So you're already having fun with the context and the stuff that you're doing, but it's even more fun when you realize like I can hunt for sentences and I can pull the sentence and I can put it in my ANKIDROID, and if I make that bigger circle even bigger, I have more Japanese that I can actually use. And so it gets a little bit more fun when you think of it like that way with ANKIDROID, but you have to change your mindset first in order to enjoy it like that. So this is why I made this video today. It's why I wanted to talk about ANKIDROID. It's why I wanted to talk about the why as to why we have ANKIDROID. Again, the main three reasons are one, personalization, of course, personalization, context. Context is the biggest thing. Again, spaced repetition, great for memory. Finally, I wanted to let you know that we are trying to increase that bigger circle rather than increase that small little circle so that you actually remember and actually are able to use a lot more Japanese. Again, that's all I'm going to talk about for ANKIDROID for now. I could talk maybe 24 hours just about ANKIDROID. Let me know if you want me to do a 24-hour live stream of just talking about ANKIDROID. I'm pretty sure I would put most people to sleep, but let me know if you want that. Otherwise, I just wanted to give this video for a lot of the members on the program, as well as anybody who might be watching this. Maybe this helped you a lot. Maybe this helped you a little. I hope that helped you a little, but I'm going to go back and re-edit this video once I have the time. But for now, this is what it's going to be, and I'll see you in the next video. I think in the next video, it's probably going to be the next set of immersion, what to do when you've reached maybe intermediate level Japanese and so on. So, all right, thank you, and I'll see you next time.